This is Chris Baker, the host of the podcast Tell Me Your Story. Thank you for watching or listening. And today's special guest to tell his story is Kenny Smith. And we're going to do what we always do. We're just going to jump right into this, talk, to start from the very beginning. Talk about, early childhood, growing up, all that good stuff.
Yeah, lots of good stuff, man. So born and raised in Akron, Ohio, um, west side of Akron, Ohio, man. And childhood for me was pretty amazing. So a lot of the stuff that I do now, actually, I saw when I was coming up because my dad did that. So my dad had a basketball league that was like famous for my time in Akron. So in the 80s and 90s. So he worked part-time in the recreation department of the city of Akron. So I just saw a lot of men giving back to the community, and I saw a lot of community service. So honestly, that's kind of where, not kind of, that's where I got my eye of where I am now and the type of person that I am in terms of, giving back to the community and being like a staple in the community. So yeah, man, born and raised West Akron, Bookto High School graduate, but the early years just consisted of a lot of sports and a lot of education, honestly.
And how did it feel? Just playing, has that really played, well, I should say, has that really played a big role in your life? The leadership that you develop and, the brotherhood, all that good stuff that comes with sports.
Oh man, it's indescribable. Still a big deal today. Yeah, it just in a different lens. But connecting and bonding with different people, different backgrounds, different cultures, man, sports, really, really opens up the door um to a different world, right? Like, because when you're with a team and you're working toward a common goal, like you don't really have a lot of the, kind of selfish things that people bring into the world when they're doing things individually, but toward a collective goal. Like sometimes those individual areas can kind of get in the way. But like as a team, for example, basketball, like at the end of the day, we're trying to win the game as a team. And so you sacrifice and you put things aside so that the team can be better. And so that's a life skill. And so that's why I'm big on sports and taking those life skills from sports into real life because they transfer.
So are you more of a basketball guy, football guy? What sports were you playing?
Definitely basketball. A basketball fanatic. I mean, as a kid though, I did everything. I played basketball, I bowled, I played football, I played baseball. So, I mean, we did it all, but, my parents encouraged, to do everything. And then, as you get older, you gravitate toward what you really enjoy the most. And, for me, football start off as 90 degrees, and then when it ends, it's 9 below. So here in Ohio, so I really didn't enjoy that.
Don't remind
Ba-
me, man. Don't remind me.
base- Baseball was too slow for me. It was fun to play, but I'm a fast-paced guy. Actually, my second favorite sport is bowling. So really enjoy that. But basketball is just my passion and love. And so, decided when I got to high school that I would drop everything and just, focus in on that.
And then, did that help you get to college? Did you play basketball in college?
Yep. Yep. It did. So I was able to, high school was very competitive and we had some great people. But I was able to use that as leverage to, yes, I played in college. So I played in high school, graduated from Bookto in 2000. And I actually, out of high school, I went to a Division II school in upstate New York, right over the Hudson River called Nyack, NYACK College. And, that experience was very eye-opening. It was a private Christian school, but in my opinion, it wasn't very, I don't know, man. You know how some church people aren't really church people. You know what I'm saying? It was a lot of fake church people to me there. You know what I'm saying? That were talking about it, but weren't actually living it. And so I just really didn't feel comfortable there. I wasn't actually able to play my first year because I did not qualify from a test situation. But I actually was told that I did qualify. So I was told like 2 weeks before it was time for me to leave that I didn't. So it was a very, very bizarre and unique situation from my high school counselor, man, that it just taught me a lot of lessons because I always was a good student, and it really motivated me to the, just I felt like I really felt like embarrassed. I didn't enjoy that part, but it actually shaped me and helped me grow and be better. We did appeal. I went up there and I did well. I was playing well. My coach appealed because he tried to get me to play because I would have played a lot as a freshman. That's why I actually went to that school because when I went on a visit, like their point guards that were returning weren't that good. So I'm like, oh yeah, I can play as a freshman. But things happened and I didn't enjoy it. So I'm like, okay, I want to transfer. And Chris Dennis is a famous basketball name, especially in Akron, Ohio, helped me. I was home and I went to a exposure camp, and my college coach the school that I transferred to actually was born and raised in Akron, Ohio. And he saw me play at an event, came over to my house and told me that, he wanted to see me play again. And I actually had a game in my father's league that next day in the evening. He came to that and he offered me a scholarship to go to Birmingham, Fairfield, Alabama. It was 10 days before school started. I didn't get to visit or anything, just had to take that leap of faith to go down there. And it was one of the greatest things ever. Like, it gave me a balance of basketball and life that I was looking for that I did not have in New York. But in New York, the basketball situation was a little better. But you got to have a balance. Life is all about balance, in my opinion. And so I had a better balance in Alabama. And it was a historically Black college. And it was just an amazing experience, man. It was like it was the greatest experience of my life. So played 4 years there and really enjoyed it, man. Really enjoyed it. Graduated with my bachelor's in communications. And, so then, the journey continued.
Before we head on to the next question, before we get there, I should say, kind of describe what the culture was like going from New York to Alabama, just how different the campuses were.
So totally different from a standpoint of like the school. So, I mean, both of them were small private schools, right? So numbers wise, it was consistent in terms of numbers, but it was just a different feel. Like, the Southern hospitality is real, very friendly, felt very welcome there. It just was two different lives. Like a HBCU is a totally different experience that you actually have to experience. Like, you hear about it, but it's something that you actually have to experience. My sister happened to be at Alabama State at the time of when I went down there. It was her final year. My dad went to Central State, so I knew about HBCUs, but I wasn't limited to that. I just wanted to play basketball. But both experiences were good in terms of me learning and being around different people, because Nyack was actually very diverse though. So it was a lot of different type of people. I mean, New York is a very diverse place anyway. So, those experiences were cool. So both experiences were actually like they taught me things that I hadn't experienced, growing up on the west side of Akron.
Now, I've heard stuff about Alabama. Like, there's certain parts down there. Is it
Uh,
true that there's parts in Alabama that are still segregated?
I'm sure. I'm sure it is. Like, I never went to those places, but like when we would go and play in different parts of the state, and we played in Mississippi and we played in the other southern states. So, you saw Confederate flags and you saw like more in the country and things of that nature. Um, but honestly, I didn't have like any negative, like, well, I had one negative racial experience down in Alabama. I had more in the Midwest than I did in the South. I mean, obviously, I was here longer, to experience it more, and so, it's things like that are everywhere. But Birmingham was slower than where I am too, and so, it was the biggest city in Alabama, but it was slower. But it was fun because you had people from other southern states and other southern big cities like Atlanta and Miami and things of that nature. So it actually was just a southern experience that the weather was great. I didn't have to worry about snow. Right. So it was great. It was great for me, man. It was cool.
Then it kind of opened the door for you to get to taste that southern food.
Oh yeah. Oh, definitely.
It's like, man, I don't have this back home. I like this.
It was amazing.
Now, are you when did you move back? Are you still in?
So no, yeah, I'm back in Ohio, which I never planned on, right? So I did my internship in Atlanta prior to my senior year of undergrad, and I wanted to live in Atlanta. So my goal was to live in Atlanta, Georgia. Like I really enjoyed Atlanta, but also in playing college basketball, I wanted to try to get paid to play basketball. So my connections, so to speak, were more so here than it was down there. So I ever had different people here that would talk to about, those professional experiences. And so I came home after, well, so I graduated, I come home, obviously, but then I went down to Atlanta and stayed with a family friend for a while with like resumes and trying to get a job. And I'm like, man, I have to try to play basketball. Like I'm never going to live it down. So I came home, started working out, and I was actually able to do that. So 2006, I played in the IBL, the International Basketball League, in Cuyahoga Falls. And at that time, I started substitute teaching too. So all of this kind of blended together. But,
Hey,
bef- but before that, though, I was going to like trying out like for ABA teams. And, when you're from a small school, you're just trying to figure out a way to get an opportunity. So I tried out for an ABA team in Western Pennsylvania, going towards New York, and I met some people. And so what ended up happening was, like I said, '06 I played in the IBL. '07 I actually was able to go to the Middle East and South America, um, and get that experience with basketball and actually getting to see the world. So I went to Dubai and Abu Dhabi in the Middle East, and then I went to Chile, Argentina, Uruguay, um, in South America, right? And so I had an opportunity to do that. So I played those 2 years after undergrad, came home back home to Akron after I got finished in South America, and I had an injury playing in a adult league at First Apostolic Church. And I don't want to say that like that ended my career because I could, but it actually like made me evaluate. I had given myself to 25. I graduated undergrad at 22. And so I was planning to chase the ball for 3 years and see kind of if I was on an upward trajectory, I would keep going. And that happened. But like I said, and when I played in the IBL, we weren't getting paid. We got paid for like 7 games, 5 or 7. I don't remember exactly, but then we didn't have any more money. We were like playing for film, and I was only getting, it was $75 a game for me. Some people's contracts were higher, but we weren't getting like major money, but it was opportunity to get film. But in that process, I started subbing and I got into education, and I'm like, man, this is fun. And so there was when I developed like what my next move was going to be, not even trying to and not knowing. And so I became an educator after that. So, I just finished my 15th year in education after last school year. So it just, everything is divine and everything happened the way that it was supposed to.
yeah, let's dig into that. Going from basketball, thinking that was pretty much your calling that you felt like at first that you wanted to do this. You're gonna make it to the NBA. Every kid's probably thinking that too.
Yeah, every kid, we all think we're going to the NBA.
The NBA, NFL, you name it, we're gonna make it. And then
Right.
career comes to an end. All of a sudden, you find this new passion, and you realize like, hey, I actually kind of like doing this. This is cool. I like teaching kids, and it's fun. So let's dig into that. Let's talk about it.
So the first time I subbed when I was playing in the IBL, so my best friend's mom told me to sub multiple times. I'm like, no, I was not trying to do it, right? I'm like, I'm not subbing. She was like, you love kids. And I was home and I had a degree and I wasn't really making any money. I had my little $9 an hour job. She's like, I'm telling you, it pays well, you enjoy it. So I'm like, nah, mom, I'm good. So August goes by, September goes by, October goes by. I'm not really making any money. And I'm like, Mom, what was that you said about substitute teaching? So she told me again. I went and filled out for it, and then I began doing that. And the very first time I subbed was at Goodrich Middle School in Akron. And I just remember like the young black male students like approaching me, and I was young, and they like coming and asking me questions. And like, you a teacher? And I had so much fun that day. And I was like, I said, man, I could do this. Like, at not thinking though, still, I'm not planning on that being a career, but I really enjoyed it. So after I was hurt, a childhood friend of mine that I played basketball with, called me and told me that Akron Public Schools was hiring for part-time bullying prevention specialists, and they were looking for educational background people, but they were also looking to hire Black males. And so one of the teachers who was advocating for this was actually one of my former teachers. So we got connected, and she told me to apply, even though technically I didn't meet the credentials by educational standard because my undergrad degree was in communications. I applied anyway, and I got an interview, and the interview went so well that they changed the requirements to desired instead of required, from education background.
Let me let's talk about the interview. Talk about the progress. Can you remember? I mean, I know it's a little while ago, but can you remember the details and what it was like? Was it intense for you? How are you feeling?
Honestly, man, I've always loved and worked with kids because of my previous experience with my dad, and I coached like in his league when I was in college, and I helped with camp. So like it was an opportunity to work with kids. So I didn't really feel any type of way. But I didn't have the educational background and the lingo that they were using at the time. And so, I just did some research, started to find out a little bit more about bullying and what kind of that actual definition was and what they were looking for and what was kind of taking place in schools and things of that nature. And so they loved my energy, and they loved, just my personality. And so the lady who actually hired me, I actually call her my APS mom now. Like we got really close. And I mean, she was from Akron. She was from the inner city, you know what I'm saying? And she was a white woman from the inner city that was very, very truthful and honest. And man, she was like amazing. And she was like, I could see beyond the credentials, like that you were going to bring something powerful to education. And so she was like, I really wanted to offer you the position. And so she was able to get that change. And I worked with her for 3 years after that. So I did bully prevention part-time for 3 years. And then that was the setup, because then after that, another lady who saw me doing bully prevention work with students, and I was working with like the behavioral students a lot. And she's like, "You're really good at this." She was like, "Do you want to be a teacher?" And I'm like, "No." I'm like, "I like the counseling." I was in 5 buildings. I was enjoying it. And she was like, "But they have a program for you to get your master's for free." And I was like, "Really?" And so she's like, "Yeah." She's like, "You should think about it." She gave me 2 people to contact who had went through the program. It was called Transition to Teaching. It was geared for people who did not have a bachelor's degree in education. And so I reached out to those individuals, and they gave me some very, positive stories about the program. And so I was like, okay. So I applied, and then I got my master's, in special education with the behavior support concentration. Then part of the program was guaranteed to teach. So after I finished that program, I went right into the classroom at one of the behavior alternative schools in Akron, and then there it was. I was in my calling.
And it's incredible because you really hit on a key note too. It's like I was thinking as somebody who's watching, listening right now. When you talk to somebody about their dreams, don't knock them down, but
Oh
build them
yeah,
up. Because, like you said, it really helped you out. Her encouraging words inspired you to pursue more into that career. Because, like you said, you were at first, you're like, nah, I couldn't see myself being no teacher. But she was like, you're actually really good at this. You should think about it. And that
yeah,
should be a lesson to whoever's watching and listening right now. Get a mentor, get that connection that, whatever you're chasing after dream wise, try to find the right people that will build you up and encourage you to continue to follow that path. Don't get around people that
definitely.
are gonna, tear you down, but get the right people in your circle. That way you can continue to be inspired, encouraged to pursue that career. And then they can point you and help you, give you, the stuff that you need, the advice that you need.
Yeah, that's very important. It's very important, man. Like, you are the people that you're constantly around. It just is what it is. Like, that energy is it transforms and comes into you. Like, so that's very important that we recognize that. And so, she did speak life into me and encourage me to, at least look into it. She's like, maybe you don't want to be a teacher. Like, she wasn't like, okay, you need to be a teacher. She was like, well, I just think it's something you should look into, and gave me two people, and she left it at that. Her job was just to plant the seed. And so I looked into it. I reached out to those two individuals, and they were like, oh man, you would love it. Gave it, they were very positive. And so, that's how I deal with young people. Like, my job is not to tell young people what to do. Like, as a teacher, like I always told them, my job for them was to learn how to think for themselves. So of course I'm gonna give them advice and try to guide them and help them, but I never like told kids what to do. Kids don't want to be told what to do.
Nope.
When you make it as a suggestion and you empower them, it's just a difference. So teaching is an art that everyone doesn't possess that, unfortunately. But yeah, so it was powerful.
And just like you said, that's really what it's all about, man. Just planting that seed in somebody, and before you know it, it's growing in you.
Here we are 15 years later.
Yeah. And think about it, like how much of an impact that took on your life. Had that opportunity not, the door wasn't there. Had she not told you that, where would you be?
Right. Right. Who knows, man? Who knows what I would have continued to do? Who knows, honestly, like, because I didn't see myself as a teacher, so I don't really know what would have been next. I feel like I would have eventually found my way in education because I was enjoying it so much. But who knows? And then when opportunities come, you have to be ready and prepared. And so I was ready to take advantage of that opportunity too. So I think that's very important as well. Like, opportunities, when they come, you got to be ready to take advantage of them. So that's another lesson that I try to, instill in young people. Like, you have to be ready when opportunities present themselves.
And also a very important lesson right here that we're talking about is always have a backup plan. You were chasing the dream of being in the NBA, but you got to that point where you're like, yeah. And then thankfully you had that backup plan because somebody helped you and told you like, hey, you're pretty good at this, man. And thankfully you did, because like you
Yeah.
said, you had no idea where you would be at. Would you still be trying out for teams? Where would you'd be working? Who knows? Who knows what would be going
Yeah.
on?
Some people chase that dream so long and aren't realistic. So, like, I just gave it everything that I had for a couple of years and was able to live with the results, right? Like, I'm a 6 foot guard. Like, was I how far was it really going to take me? I mean, I gave it my all, and I'm very, very satisfied with my journey. Like, I don't have any, man, if I would have just, I don't have a woulda, coulda, shoulda story. That's what I always tell young people. Like, I'm good. I gave it 150%. I was able to travel the world. I got to see some things that I, didn't know that I would see. And now being a world traveler, like, I just went to an educational conference in Dubai in December, because I went there first playing basketball. And in 2014, I went on vacation with my wife. But like, so now, like, leaving the country for me is not abnormal. Like, that is a part of who I am. Like, going to other parts of the world is going to continue to be something that I do for the rest of my life. So, having that opportunity to open myself up to the world was huge.
And you hit on a very, very important note. So, whatever you're chasing, whatever is going on, just 110% everything. Because when the opportunities arise, man, you got to do it. Go after it.
Mhm.
That way, when you get older, you don't have that factor where you're just like, oh, what if I would have. Don't be that person.
For
Don't be
sure.
that person. You don't want to be that
For sure.
person. And it's like you just hit an important note, man. You're teaching. You're doing it.
Always, man. Always.
How was it your first couple years though, once you became a teacher?
Man, it was fun. Like, it was different and actually needing to prepare, right? But it was so fun. So I had middle school uh boys, sixth, seventh, and eighth grade, my very first year. And it was at the, like, they were, considered emotionally disturbed and behavioral disabilities. And but at the end, I never went and approached it like that though. Like, I just approached them as regular kids who just needed help. And what I found out was like their home lives and situations that they were dealing with were the reasons behind the behaviors. Behaviors are communicators, right? They're trying to tell you something, and kids don't always know how to express themselves. So my first year, man, it was amazing. I had a lot of, so I had all African American males. And so you had all the stigmas that came, like they didn't want to read, they couldn't do this, they couldn't do that. So like literally when my first year teacher stipend, I bought We Beat the Streets books about the three doctors from Newark, New Jersey. And my class was like, they loved it. They were asking to read in the morning and in the afternoon. Right. And I tell that story because we had 100 was a challenge at the time, and they didn't have anything like that the boys could relate to. And once we had some literature that they could relate to, they like enjoy reading. So I didn't really realize that the importance of that until now, like being an author and writing children's books and seeing, through my years of teaching, you know, and the impact of education, and then how like like the Black male story, as I'm telling this story, isn't included in education or very minimally. Like all of that is important. So the first couple of years, so my first year I was there, and then I told the principal I didn't plan on leaving. I told her the only way I would leave is if an opening came at my alma mater. And so it just so happened at the end of that year, one of my good friends called me and she said, hey, one of our it was called the Now program, no opportunity wasted. She said, man, our other Now teacher leaving. She's like, you want to come to book though? I'm like, of course. Like, no thoughts, no second thoughts about it. I'm like, oh, I'm definitely coming to book though. And so I put in the transfer and transferred to my alma mater. And so, I did my first year, like I said, at Bridges, and then I was at Bookto for the next 11. All right. So I did bully prevention. So I just finished 15. I did 3 years bully prevention. And so then you have 12. And then I did the rest of, so I did 12 total years at Bookto, man. And it was amazing being at my alma mater and teaching it, already doing work in the community. So like I'm knowing moms and dads and cousins and uncles, and I had a different approach to community, right? I wasn't just a teacher. You know what I'm saying? They see me at the store, they see me at games, they see me everywhere. They see me walking down the street, right? So for me, then I went to my alma mater and, gave them a lot because I was already, my nonprofit is in the community, right? So I just was an extension of the school, honestly, outside of that. So teaching was just natural for me. Like I've always been like a leader. And so it wasn't, that big of a deal outside of, I didn't really honestly know how bad my own neighborhood was because my situation wasn't like a lot of my peers. Like both my parents were in the home and they worked, and we weren't rich, but we weren't poor, right? You know what I'm saying, to be honest. But what I realized as a teacher was the poverty in the neighborhood that I grew up in, and then the broken homes and things of that nature. So now as an adult, I just had a different viewpoint of my community and how I could offer assistance and help. So it was eye-opening, honestly.
And really, just a better word to put it is you had a clear vision. You had more, you could see it better.
Oh yeah.
Like, pretty much the better way to put it is like you weren't really paying attention to it then when you were growing up. You didn't see it as like, oh, nothing crazy, nothing different, because you're not thinking about it. But now that it became, it came to the front and you were able to see it more clearly, you're like,
yeah,
we got to do something about this.
For sure.
And how did you handle that? What'd you do?
I just started to be like more, I just tried to do as much as I could, like at the community center, right? So I went and I started coaching. We started offering summer programming though that was geared toward problem solving and project-based learning because we had adopted a project-based learning model at the school. So we were like actually solving real world problems. We took kids to present in front of city council. So I worked with Akron U and Kent State the past 8 years doing service learning. So actually for future teachers to come into the community, because inner cities get a bad rap, right? Of like, I don't want to go teach in inner city. So what I'm like, okay, if I can help teachers come into the inner city before they actually become teachers and they can develop their own perspective of what they're going to get into, they're always going to hear the negative, but it's one thing for you to hear something and never have had an experience there versus you've had an experience. And so now someone tells you something, you're like, well, I've been there. Like I was able to see difference. So just trying to bring as much to my community as possible. So like I said, did that with Kent State and Akron U. Started a nonprofit, which wasn't really something that I had planned on doing. And so, just looking to bring programming and opportunities to the young people because that's what they needed. They needed opportunities to get away from a lot of the things that they were experiencing. And so then there you have it.
Now, what would you say was like the biggest challenge that you came across?
Uh the biggest challenge is the mentality of the adults, right? Because a lot of adults still don't even understand, the cycle that they live in. And then they actually, bring kids into the world and the cycle repeats. So just, in trying to help adults. But honestly, you're so focused on the kids, you don't really worry about the adults, to be honest. And I had a cousin who she works with child and family services in the courts, and she had been screaming it for the longest. And I'm like, no, I gotta get the kids, and it's one thing to help a kid, but you're sending a kid back to an environment. So now as time moved on, you realize the adult piece is big, but a lot of adults are like stuck in their ways and don't want to change. And so, it's challenging because you're trying to help this kid and they're a product of their environment and what they see. So that's still a challenge to this day, and probably the largest challenge. I would say that. But then in the school, the largest challenge was the expectations and the mentality of the staff, right? So we had a lot of good teachers, but you had a lot of teachers whose mentality was that those kids can't read or those kids can't critically think, or we would have like meetings, and so that was another challenge because they were approaching it from a deficit way of thinking. And so that bothered me, being a Black male from that community and knowing like literally my life is a critical thinking problem, right? The decisions that a lot of kids are making and things of that nature. And so, from that standpoint of education, that was also something else because I'm like literally telling them like, nah, and so I have to speak up and be a voice, so those were the challenges, and those still are the challenges that like many inner city schools and situations face, because if I didn't grow up and I don't really have the lens to be open to hearing the multiple perspectives, right? I start to put my values on people. And so it's interesting, man, trying to create that change when you have people who are, they're kind of stuck in the way that they think.
And I mean, that's really something that should be taught, though. I mean, it's hard because, like you said, they're going back into a household that is pretty much programmed them to be a certain way.
Mhm.
And that's a really important thing. Is like if people, kids especially, if they were to see the positive in the world and listen to positive stuff, read positive stuff, their world would change around them. But being surrounded by negativity all the time, it programs them to think certain ways and thinking that, the world is a certain way. And then people ask questions like, how do I change this? How can I do something? I'm like, it only takes one person. You
Yeah.
can do it.
Well, kids are watching, like literally, that's what my most recent children's book I released is called I'm Watching, right? That right there, kids are watching. So you have a lot of parents who tell kids what they want them to do. Like, I want you to do this and I want you to be better than me and things of that nature. Not saying that they shouldn't do that, but like children are watching what you do. So when you tell them one thing, but you're showing them another, you're really being a hypocrite, right? And, that's one of the things that I address. And they're not trying to be, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like they're purposely doing it, but, kids watch more than, what you forget what you tell them. They're watching what you do.
And really, that's what should be like, kind of like focused on right now. Whoever's watching, listening, write notes, take this down. Watch
Yeah,
what you do around your kid, and then you won't have, certain questions. I'm not trying to teach you how to parent. Don't get the wrong,
for
but
sure.
I'm saying more like, don't give them the phone. I'm seeing this a lot where parents give, kids the phones, especially younger kids, and to the point where they don't really understand what they're getting into, a whole different world that really they should be handed a book instead, and
Yeah, I agree.
it would help them. You know what I'm saying? Well, you're a teacher.
Yeah. Well, I see that a lot, man. It's a way to make them quiet. It's like a babysitter. We call cell phones when I was in class. I would tell my students all the time, like, it's your pacifier. You know, you're a baby, you crying, you put your pacifier in, and it soothes you, and you feel better. And like that's y'all's pacifier, right? Like you get mad at the teacher, and you want to pull out your phone and get on your phone, or we would have conversations about it because then they'd be like, "Dang, Mr. Smith, like that makes sense." You know what I'm saying? When you bring it to their attention, right? Like they, again, kids want to be held accountable. So when you like bring it from that perspective, when you just are bringing it from the perspective of trying to help them and letting them know, they're like, dang, I had conversations with students about it. And it's not like, super drastic change, but you just want to plant the seed to help them understand and how, you picking up the phone, you're looking at everyone else's, what they're doing, you're comparing yourself to everyone. It's like, it's a lot now. There could be a lot of positive things too, right? You know what I'm saying? So again, I would tell the kids, like, I'm not going to just focus on all the negative. There's also some positive things. So now when you give them that balance of choice, it's not like you're always just trying to tell them what to do. And kids want to be respected. And I think that we miscommunicate what that means, right? And so that doesn't, like, when I say kids want to be respected, it doesn't mean like just from the way that you interact, like just giving them options to choose, right? That's a form of respecting a kid. You know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't. People always make it seem like it's about the way that you talk to someone, which that's important too. But that's not the only thing that kids are. That's not the way that they're looking at it. I'm telling you, when you give kids choice, you empower them, right? So, just the years of my experience, that's the approach, and how one of the reasons why I was so successful in the classroom was because I wasn't telling them what to do all the time. Of course that happens, but it's not all the time, right? So
Kind of describe after being in the business for 15 years and then seeing your students grow up and go into the world. How many have come back to you and said that your advice helped them in a way?
oh man, so the most gratifying moment was, so, and I didn't, I knew I helped this kid, but like you don't know, like you try to help all kids. So I'll speak to two. There's a young man who was in 11th grade my first year at Bookto. He had never had a man hold him accountable. Father was in and out, a lot of situations, right? And so, I'm trying to teach and things of that nature, and he wasn't complying, right? He just couldn't handle the structure at the time. And so he's like, "Oh, I'm just going to leave," right? He gets mad because I'm holding him accountable. Like, "Hey, man, you can't do that. Like, I'm trying to teach right now, whatever." He's like, "I'm just going to leave," right? And so I was like, "Well, leave." You know what I'm saying? Like, my response was, "We'll leave." He's about to leave. But I said, before you leave, let me share this with you. And so I just shared with him like the importance of education. I'm like, at the end, you gonna make a choice. I said, you can walk out that door or not. I'm still gonna be here. You can make that choice. I was like, I really wouldn't advise you to do that, blah, blah, blah. I kind of broke it down for him, just for him to understand why. Like, he left that day. He definitely left. It was what it was, but he came back the next day. And so, like, there was a lot of progression and a lot of success, though, right? As though you kept seeing small levels. Now, he was extremely smart, though. I mean, this dude was like brilliant, like seriously. He just had so much going on outside, right? So fast forward, man, he ends up graduating, and so they did a play on his life, and it was at the downtown library. Like, I don't remember the year, but they did a play on his life. And one of the scenes was that scene when I told him to leave.
Wow.
Yeah, like, it was crazy. I'm like, oh my goodness. And so, he's doing well. Like, we actually went to lunch probably around November. he's living independent, he's working, he's just doing good for himself. And then so another one was another young lady who I never had in class. Like I would speak to this young lady all the time in the hallway. Because unfortunately, you have teachers who go like in the hallway and don't talk to kids. I know it sounds crazy, but like they just stand in the hallway, right? Like, and so me, I'm in the hallway, like, hey, how you doing? Ooh, your hair look nice. Look at your shoes. Okay, I'm like just complimenting, I'm a ball of energy, right? So it's this young lady. I used to compliment her all the time, like, and she invited me to her wedding. She braided my kids' hair before. You know what I'm saying? Like, I never had this girl in class. Like, I literally would just be nice to her in the hallway. And like, she told me how, big that was because, the mornings where it was a struggle in her family situation and all these different things. And I'm like, dang, I just was being nice in the hallway, man. Like, I wasn't trying to do anything per se. I just was in the hallway, trying to uplift young people, make them feel good.
And really, people are gonna think I sound like a broken record when I say this, but I say it on every show. The spirit of gratitude is something else, man. You just get
Mm,
out there in the world and you just say small things, just complimenting people, and it goes a long way.
for
It
sure.
it might not seem like it at the time. You might, you just tell somebody you got nice looking hair. What's popular right now is the colored hair, the red, the blue, the green.
Right.
I always like to tell them, like, man, I really love your hair. I'm digging it, man. It looks cool. And they're like, really?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Because
People, that's
it took them a long time to do that.
that transfer of energy, man. That's one thing we learn in school. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. It's just transfers. And you transfer that positive energy, then they transfer it. That's a powerful thing.
And that's really what it's about, man. And that's why I try to tell everybody about it. It's like just having the spirit of gratitude. Just do it. You compliment somebody, just say something nice to somebody. Because
Yeah,
right now in this world, you need it more than ever. More than ever.
for sure.
Positivity needs to be spread like wildfire, man. Just because of what's happened in these last couple of years, being sheltered in, closed in, people were
Yep.
concerned at what's going to happen to the world. Everybody's freaked out by the littlest things now, but I'll be honest with you, it's it's pretty normal, people. It's normal.
Yeah.
It's just
Positivity, man. It goes a long way.
well, yeah, being a positive person, and I'm not trying to force it on you because it takes time to develop, especially depending on where you come from, where you're raised and all that. But becoming a positive person will really make an impact on your life. It'll open many doors and many opportunities. You'll connect with a lot of like-minded people.
Hmm.
And it's really just a gift to life, man. Once you really appreciate what you have just around you, just even the small things that are huge things, just waking up in a comfortable bed, to be able to see with your eyes, to be able to move your arms, your legs, to be able to hear, taste, smell, hear, be able to drive your
Yeah,
car.
for real. And I share that with young people, just when they think something is so bad, I'm like, man, people who didn't wake up today, or you do have 5 fingers, 10 fingers, 10 toes. And, some people don't like, and, that really makes kids think. So I would use that. So it's just important to, have multiple perspective, as many perspectives as possible for young people, in my opinion.
And just how cool it is, though, how your positive, uplifting spirit just, you could have been like every other teacher. You could have just sat there and just waited until class started. But you made the difference, and you got out there and you complimented the students, and they remembered it. And then the
Yeah,
girl, what's even cooler is just hearing that, just how inspiring that is to hear a girl that wasn't even in your class invite you
yeah.
to her wedding and is braiding your daughter's hair, and it's like, wow.
Yeah, man. Like it's so yeah, man. Education, it's a lot has been coming back. Like now, girls in my nonprofit. One of the a young lady from the very first travel team that I had is getting ready to coach my daughter's team this year. Like it's so she finished undergrad in 3 years and she just got accepted to law school and like just never expecting anything from them. Like now they want to come and give back and help and young people know who treated them right. Like they know. Like a lot of people talk about it, but it's a lot of lip service. Like people really remember how you made them feel, and that's very important. So yeah, I live by that. Like treat people right? Because you never know like when you're going to need them again. I have a lot of former my first when I was subbing a group of kids, like they're business owners now. Like I have quite a few individuals who inspire me, and they're younger than me, and they started businesses, and like I used to mentor them, like, and now they're helping me from the business side. Like seriously, man. So just treating people right, honestly, like and I never felt like I knew everything just because I was older than them and had experiences. Like I always felt like I was a lifelong learner, and I'm learning from them now. So I think that that's one of the most powerful things that I've ever been able to do is learn from the young people that I was able to coach and teach. Oh man, it's amazing.
And that's the important message right here, people. Positivity goes a long, long way. It comes back as a blessing, man, and blessings flow.
Definitely.
How was
And so
it?
now I'm in this new space though. Now I'm in a new space. I left traditional education, and so now I started a new journey at the beginning of this school year. And last year I became an author and released my first book. And so now I'm on a new journey because, like you said, God wants me to impact more lives through education. And so here we are now, doing some consulting work and speaking and having children's books and all of these different things that are new to me. And becoming an entrepreneur, I'm in a different lane, and so now I'm not limited to just the one classroom that I was in. Now I'm able to just go everywhere all over the world and share messages and impact and empower people, man. So I'm so excited for where that is getting ready to go and where it has gone so far. And new journeys, new levels.
Yeah, and talk about that for a second. Just think, like I said, basketball career, teaching, and now you're an author. How did it feel
Yeah.
writing your first book? How many hours did it take you to write that first children's book? You said children's book, correct?
Yep. So it really writing was I don't know, I guess you could say a hidden talent because no my people really didn't know I did that, but I love to write. Been loving to write ever since I was a kid. I read a lot as a kid too. So when I became a when my wife was pregnant with our first daughter, so I wanted books with representation, right? And so I went to Amazon to try to find as many books with little black girls as I could. And I found like 5 to 7 maybe, right? And I like bought all of them, and I'm like, man, wow, it's only like this many. I was so confused. So I'm looking, I'm not able to really find any. And then I stumbled across research. And so 12% of children's books have people of color as the main character. I'm like, huh. And instead of complaining about it, I'm like, man, I'm gonna write a book about fatherhood. So when my daughters were born and things that I would do, I began to write. So I wrote the book when my daughter was 5. Let's see, and I didn't even release it until she was 8 because I wrote it, but I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't know how to publish it. I didn't know how to get illustrations. Like I just had this book. I'm letting students read it. They're like, Mr. Smith, this is good. And I'm like, thanks. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know what to do, but COVID actually allowed me to move forward. So I took a self-publishing class with the author from New Jersey. He was actually young. He was 24 at the time, maybe 25.
Wow,
He had already put out 4 books.
wow.
Um, and so I took a class with him. He was super helpful, connected me to an illustrator. And then, I was able to put out my first book November 2020. And it was a blessing called We Love Our Daddy. And, just my journey of being a father. And so that was cool. And then just this past February, I released my second book called I'm Watching. And it talks about how young boys see the world through the eyes of the people that they interact with. And so then also so in February, my 9-year-old daughter released a book. So we released together. So my 9-year-old daughter released a book called Girls Fall Down Sometimes. So both of our books are available on Amazon. And we're actually getting ready to host or we're preparing to host a book signing here soon. So yeah, man, I was actually able to release a book with my 9-year-old daughter, who she wrote everything and she controlled the illustrations. Her illustrator was from Pakistan, so we did Google Meets, and she was able to do that. So, now that's another hat. Like I'm allowed to help people learn how to tell their story through books and children's books. And so, just in a new world and meeting new people and expanding, my reach to be able to help others tell their story in multiple ways.
And let's just take a moment right now to look at how God has been showing off in your life.
Oh man,
Like, wow.
man. Oh, nothing but God.
And the fact that you said she's 9, your 9-year-old daughter wrote a book,
She
that
did.
that without doubt that's showing off, man. It's like, oh, you think you're something, huh? Check this out.
Yeah, she did, man. And it's really cool because I knew, like, because she told me she wanted to write a book. And I'm like, okay, right. And I'm thinking in my head, like, okay, you want to write a book because she saw me. And then so she's very observant. Kids are watching, right? So she would look at the format that I use to write my books. And so then when I knew it was serious was when she came to me with her book written in the format that I use for mine. And it was like a real book. I'm like, oh my goodness. Like she really had a book, right? So it was just like, wow, you know, she she wasn't playing. It
And
wasn't
like,
just something to say.
I'm just thinking, like, how many kids can say that at 9? They published their first book. Like,
Right.
how many people, not just kids, but how many people can say that they wrote
For
a book
sure.
and had it published at the age of 9?
Right.
That's gonna be in history somewhere.
Yeah, for sure.
Her name's gonna be out everywhere. What is her book called, actually?
It's called Girls Fall Down Sometimes.
Girls Fall. Okay, you did say that. Girls Fall Down.
Yep. Girls Fall Down Sometimes. You can look it up, or for the people watching, they can look it up on Amazon. And they can purchase. And yeah, man, 9-year-old author.
Support the young author because it's only just the beginning of her story, his story, and my story. Let's make it
Yeah,
happen, people.
yeah.
And then, so you have 2 books. How many do you plan on writing? Are you gonna keep going?
I'm going. I'm getting ready to release a book about my success as a Black male educator. All right. I've been able to tell my story, but like there were some specific things that I was able to do that made me a successful teacher. And the world of education needs to know it, because now Black males used to represent 2%. It's dropped over the course of the pandemic. So now Black males represent 1.6% of the teaching population. And so, but Black males are suspended the most. And, what I mean, academically, the Black male percentages aren't leveling out. And I believe I've seen so many variables into their success. But when you think about it, if you think about your school experience, right? So let's be factual. To this day, so I just was having this conversation with my own daughter. When I was in school, the Black males that were introduced to me were Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, like extensively, right? And so for my daughter, it is Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, and sprinkle a little bit of Barack Obama in there, right? And so when I was having this conversation, I'm like, man, so just think about, and I had this conversation with a student too, who was from she was Hispanic, right? And she was from New York, actually. But like the Black male experience is not included into the curriculum, and it's not something that's celebrated and accomplishments and all of that. So Black males don't even feel like they're valued or a part of the educational experience, right? And so then you have even other backgrounds, like I told you, the Hispanic young girl from New York. And I was telling her that as my story. She's like, you know what, Mr. Smith, I feel the same way. As a Hispanic young lady, she like, I don't feel like we learn about, my story and my history, all the contributions of people from, that descent, what happened. So, you know, but yeah, my next book is going to highlight, because my story in education needs to be told. Like, so in my classroom, myself and my colleague, like we were able to increase the graduation rate, I'm saying, by 25% over a 9-year period. The kids in our program were not graduating before we got there. Right. They wouldn't finish. Right. And so then I switched to a restorative practice role, and I did that for 3 years, and suspension rates dropped. You know what I'm saying? So like the work that I have done and the success that I had was real. And so now I have to be able to share that more, like I said, globally, with everyone, because it's true and it happened. And so that's that's next. So, you'll hear about that one.
Yeah.
soon about my educational experience as a Black male educator.
Without a doubt, I'm looking forward to it. What's the title for it? What are you thinking?
I have a title. I'm not going to share though.
Oh, come on.
I gotta keep that under my hat because I haven't settled. So I'm gonna keep that under my hat. But it's gonna be something that gets. I'll give this hint. It's gonna capture people's attention.
It's gonna
It's
catch
gonna
the
be
eye,
it's
man.
gonna be an attention. It's gonna be an attention grabber. I had something that I wanted, and then I recently kind of was looking at something different. So yeah, definitely going to be an attention grabber, man. So excited for that.
So be looking for the author, Kenny Smith. Whatever the
Yeah,
book
it's
is,
coming.
Kenny Smith. It's gonna be a New York Times bestseller.
Okay, yeah, I received that definitely.
Had to take a moment. um, what else? What else haven't we covered yet? We covered everything, or got anything else?
I mean, like I guess we just last but not least though for me, is my work with my nonprofit and working with the young ladies that I've been doing for 12 years, man. And again, something that I never saw myself doing. I never saw myself teaching, never saw myself coaching young ladies, but it's turned into such a ministry. So everything I do is a ministry, right? So my ministry to the world is through these various things that I do. And um, so my nonprofit, man, being 12 years old now, like I said, talked about the young lady going to law school and have another young lady who just graduated from Ohio State, 2 bachelor's degrees, and multiple girls actually going to law school. Girl going into medical school soon that beat leukemia twice, right? At 12 years old, she was diagnosed with leukemia. So like being the father figure for some of these young ladies who didn't have a dad like has been so big because again I didn't think that that was something that I wanted to do. I didn't really know what to expect kind of going into it. I didn't want to coach girls. And so now there's such a leadership. There's so many leaders that have come through the program, and girls basketball obviously doesn't get the same recognition as men's basketball, and it's not the same money maker. So when you genuinely can help young ladies just grow and be um and be better people, right? Like they remember how you made them feel. We talk about that, but young ladies even more so. They're sensitive. And I've just seen what we've been able to do for young ladies in the city. And that right there, man, has really impacted me because of the change that it forced me to make. And then I had daughters, like all the parents were like, "You're gonna have girls. I hope you have girls." And I did. And like, having a organization that focuses on empowering young women, giving them self-esteem, focuses on childhood obesity, focusing on literacy, right? We have a commercial about childhood obesity and kids moving. We infuse academics right into what we're doing. Like I said, we did like the summer program. So what I was telling you with those teachers from Kent State and Akron U, they'll work with my girls. We did so just impacting young people, specifically young ladies in that context, man, has been huge. It's been amazing. So yeah, man, that work for me is something else that I really wanted to talk about because it changed me. Like helping them changed me, and it continues to change me. So yeah, it's been pretty interesting.
Just really like I'm just blown away, man, because just thinking of like you went from just basketball career, and that was you thought that was your calling, but here God was saying, nah, I got something much much better for you.
Something great. So I'll even tell you this story, right? This true story. And this is the model behind the nonprofit, right? So I always knew that I wanted to coach, but I wanted to be about more than basketball. So when I was in 8th grade and I was in middle school, no, sorry, 7th grade. 7th grade, when the alphabet first entered the math world, right? I struggled, right? I got my first F ever. And so I was really trying, but I was struggling, right? And so my mom was like, "Oh, you got an F, no basketball, like no basketball. Like you can go to the game, yeah, you can sit on the bench, but like you're not playing." And I'm like, "Huh?" Like my mom was not playing, like so I went to the game, like, and I could not play. And so my team actually won the championship without me. Like I was sitting on the bench watching them play. And my mom was like, you're not playing basketball, you got Fs? Like, no. And so that allowed me to, with the organization, create like the GPA requirement and the emphasis on grades, right? And so like it's so funny because when a kid can't play because of their grades, and I tell them that they can't play because of their grades, and they feel so bad and down. And I tell them, guess who else had to experience this? Me, right? And they just look like, and then they learn my story. Like, so it's not like I was in your shoes, right? You know what I mean? So it's just so powerful because, and the girls know, like, I don't play, like, I don't get paid to do what I do at Ladies First. Like, so that being said, like, that's the standard. And so they meet it and they exceed it. And, it's just, that's the story behind, why we do what we do. And it's been super successful.
How incredible that is, though. Just seeing that, just taking a step really into it where you didn't really feel comfortable with, and being able to do that and succeed at it. Like how awesome that is.
Yeah, man. So yeah, man, in a nutshell, this is where I am now. I'm in this new stage, and we're gonna see what God has for me in this stage.
And the most important message right here is this only just the beginning.
For sure.
Like really thinking about it, like basketball career, teaching. Now you're doing this, you're coaching. And it's
Right.
like wow, what's next, God? What's next?
That's the question. What's next, God? Like what you want me to do?
And that's like really awesome to wake up to every day, just feeling that way. Like you're excited. You probably wake up feeling excited. You jump out of bed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
what
Time to go get that workout, get that early morning workout, get that day started.
what do you got planned for me? What's gonna happen today? That's just how I
Yeah.
feel every day when I wake up, man. What's gonna happen today? What you know? But as we begin to wrap this thing up, I just want to say thank you for coming on and telling your story. And it's just, I know without a doubt, it's inspired somebody, encouraged somebody, and somebody is probably wondering right now. Somebody's probably asking the question, what do I do? How do I get into that career path? How do I know that it's really for me? What do you say? What is your advice to that person?
Go be of service. You will not know until you go do things. Like I didn't know I wanted to coach girls until I started helping the girls. It wasn't something planned, right? They put a girl team together at the community center, and I went and helped them. So go be of service. The more service you do, then you'll find things that you enjoy. So if you don't know, go be of service. The more service that you provide, you'll find what God has for you.
Amen. Amen to that. If anybody wants to reach out to you, how do they get in touch with you?
So you can go to my website. It is IamPossibleEnterprise.com, all spelled out. I am possible. On social media, on Twitter and Instagram, I am at Akron Coach _ JoJo. And on Facebook, I am Kenny JoJo Smith. So you can look up I Am Possible Enterprise and Ladies First Akron. You can Google those as well. You'll find stuff.
And the most important question before we wrap it up, where did the nickname JoJo come from?
JoJo came from my dad, man, when I was really, really young. It's so funny, man. Just ironic. Like my dad, I was young and, my dad played basketball and I was like young basketball lover at like a super young age. And my middle name starts with a J. And so my dad's mother used to call me JJ. And my dad just changed it to JoJo because of JoJo White. And, they were calling me that when I was really little and it stuck. And here we are. And I remember a person told me like I was going to have to lose that name. And like I'm known as Coach JoJo in Akron, Ohio. Like that is me, and it's a part of me. And no, like I am not losing any part of me. This is me.
JoJo, Coach JoJo. I
Yeah.
love it, though, man. It's I don't think I've ever heard anybody else with that one. I heard Froggy, Coach Froggy, but JoJo, I think yeah, that's cool.
Coach JoJo, man, that's me.
Coach JoJo. Everybody, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. You ever heard Coach JoJo's story? But like I said, thank you for watching. And if you'd like to come on and tell your story sometime, don't be afraid to message me. This is a platform for everybody. You can come on and tell your story just like how Kenny Smith did. He told his story from the beginning up to this point. But be looking forward to his books. They're going to be out there. If you haven't, go on Amazon, look at his books, man. Definitely going to be inspired, encouraged, and help out his daughter as well. How cool that is. Let's go back to that. 9 years old and publishing a book. Wow. But anyway, this is Chris. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.